Okay. So today we continue where we left off. Last week we're middle of Perek Lamed Zayin, and we're talking about, or actually middle of Lamed Ches, chapter 38, talking about what does it mean to live with Mashiach. And we finished off last week where the Rebbe said that one of the things is that we have to really be able to live with Mashiach. We have to really feel it. And the only way we can really feel it is by learning about Inyan Golo Mashiach, but learning it with da'at. In other words, spending time and thinking about what we're learning to the point where we can actually internalize it and really make it real in our lives. So that's where we kind of left off, because of the idea of das, the idea that it's not just like in the earlier years where you could believe in Mashiach, that Mashiach is coming and be in that kind of did something just happen? Everyone's still with me? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, something just jumped on my computer. I wasn't sure. Okay, so we're going to now we're up to this part. So Rifki Glassman, you want to read?
Sure. Since I'm yawning. Lieda lahakir.
Yeah.
Liedu lahakir sha'imdim b'achnisa liyamaysa Mashiach. Vinyan ikri noisef on alaimdim aketanal shaloi dai belima diyune oides mashmusam shleimaysa Mashiach vasher yisrachish bahem kinya sheba asid elel chalaroy sichel yais hakara Brura b'mashmaise shel hazman by anu nimtzoim ka'es liedu lahakir sha'imdim kfar b'achnisa liyamaysa Mashiach. So another important thing that we learn from this is that it's not enough to learn in depth the meaning of Yemaisa Mashiach and what's going to be when it will come in the future. But the first thing is, the most important is that we have to recognize clearly the understanding that the time that we are in now, that we should know and recognize that we are already standing in the beginning in the entrance of Yemaisa Mashiach. ותמה דבר מובן על דרך הנ"ל, כי בכדי שהלימוד העיוני ישפיע על רגשיו של האדם, יהפך לחלק מהם, צריך שהאדם יכיר שעניין העדויסו הוא לימד אינו עניין רחוק ממנו, אלא עניין שנוגע אליו ישירות. So the reason is that in order for the in-depth learning should have an effect on the emotions of the person and become a part of him. So the person has to feel that the subject that he's learning is not far from him, but it's something that has a connection to him directly. So if a person relates to Yemaisa Mashiach as something far away, then the learning about it will not have an effect on him. כאשר הוא מסייחס עליהם כלעניין קרוב שאוימן לקרוי ביומופו וכבר מסקל לקרויס בהוי וממש, אזי הלימוד משפיע עליו באופן אחר לגמרי. But when he relates to it with something like something that is close and it's going to be happening in his times and it's already beginning to happen in the present time, so then the learning will have an effect on him in a completely different way. So as it is in the story that the Rebbe tells about a farmer that got a letter from the big city, and because he didn't know how to read, so he gave the letter to the Malamed to read it to him. Malamed hikri mechtav b'hidiya she'aviv shel hakafri niftar, v'hakafri yisalef mitzar. So the Malamed read the letter, and where it said that the father of the farmer passed away, and the farmer fainted from pain. Achal Malamed, אף שהבין את המכתב היטב, בכל זאת לא יסלף, כיוון שמכתב היה מדובר על אביו של הכפרי, ולא של המלמד. But the Malamed, even though he understood the letter well, but he didn't faint because the letter was talking about the father of the farmer and not of the Malamed. ובהגדרה של תרס החסידוס, ההבדל בין המלמד לכפרי הוא לא בכוח הבינה שלהם, שהכפרי הבין איזה דברים יסר לאשורם, אלא בכוח הדס, כוח האסקשוס vishabros. So in Hasidic terms, the difference between the Malamed and the farmer is not in how much bina they have, because the farmer understood exactly what was happening, but in the koyach hadas, the koyach of connection. Shakafri his kasher madover va'inyan noga loy ad kdeis alfos vilu avar Malamed is a siperzer shloi noga loy. The farmer connected to the idea because it affected him, and that's right until he fainted from it. But for the Malamed, it was some kind of a strange story. It didn't have any relationship to him. It didn't touch him. Well, there's a binyanenu. B'chtei inyanei Moshiach shebereish yardu l'regel shebelev. Tzricha liyes etzel adam ha'kara she'inyan shel Moshiach lo rachak mitai ela inyan shenegeh elav. And the same thing in our inyan, for the inyan of Moshiach to go from the head to the emotions and the heart. So the person has to recognize that the idea of Moshiach is not far from us, but it's something that is very, very related. Affects us. And that's why the Rebbe says, as above, that the most important thing is that our thoughts and the understanding to know and to recognize that we're already in the beginning of Yemaisa Mashiach. הקדומת הידיעה שמס המשיח הם עניין אקטואלי עבורנו, אזי כל הלימוד שלאחר מכן מקבל משמעות חיה ומחיה. So when we have the previous knowledge that Yemaisa Mashiach is something actual for us, so then the learning that comes after it will receive a meaning, life, and meaningful, and will give kayach.
And this is like that in everything in our lives, right? When we know of something, but we think of it as something that's going to happen way in the future, it doesn't have that same urgency. So we don't really take it to heart. I think of myself, I used to teach, students, teacher training, but it was kind of removed from them. They didn't really take it seriously because it was like they were in year 11. They still had another year of school, and some of them went to seminary. And it was like they weren't going to apply this for a number of years. And a lot of them they didn't take it either. They were saying, "Oh, I'm never going to be a teacher," or it doesn't really apply to me. Whatever it was, they didn't really take it seriously. Now a few years down the track, many of those girls are actually teachers working in the school where I am working. It's very different. Now they want to hear what I have to say. Now they're begging me to give them, right, to train them, to work with them. But it's very different because now they're in the process. So everything has a lot of meaning because it's practical. They're going to implement it tomorrow in the classroom. But when they were students in year 11, they weren't interested because it was not neged to them. It was something far in the future. So it's that same idea. We see it with a lot of things. When we can learn, have people who are learning about reading the Rambam, learning about Karbonos, learning about Avodas HaKohanim. So if you think it's something in the future, okay, so you learn, it's nice to know. But if you feel like, and that's the whole, institute in Eretz Yisrael, where they're like, no, it's now. We have to be ready. We have to be prepared. We have to learn. We have to know exactly what we have to do, because we're going to have to actually do this. It's a very, very different feeling of urgency and application, because you say this is not a theoretical study. It's now become practical, something very, something that I can actually implement right away. So it makes you huge difference in how we view what the time that we're in and when we are going to practically be able to implement all of these things that we're learning. Right? So continue, Ricky. Masha Enke.
מה שאין כן כאשר למדים ענייני משיח, רק בכדי למהר ולקרב ביס המשיח, וזה הפרחס נגס הקורא במשמעוס האקטואליה של הלימוד, כיוון שגם כאשר לא מכירים בו כך, הלימוד פועל פעולוסי למהר ולקרב ביס המשיח. So it's different that when you're learning ענייני Mashiach only to hasten the coming of Mashiach. So there it's less connected to you. It doesn't feel as actual because the learning is only to bring it closer.
Right? It doesn't matter if you don't feel like it's practical or it's actually going to happen, because the learning itself, okay, that's bringing it closer. So whatever I learn, whether I connect to it or not, or whether I feel like it's going to happen right away, it doesn't matter, because just the learning is bringing it closer. But if I feel like, no, I'm in it right now, I have to know because I have to start implementing right away, it's a very different sense of urgency in the learning. Okay. Keep going, Reem.
ואם נרצה, אפשר לראות כל זה בדוגמה הנ"ל ונגיע להלכה של ימי הצמס הנהפך ומססן לשמחה. So if we want, we could see this an example in relation to the halacha of the fast days, which will be turned to sasin u'simcha. הלכה זו נכתבה ברמב"ם כבר לפני 800 שנה, ולפני זה בגמרא וכולי, עד לנבואת זכריה, לפני 2,300 שנה. So this halacha was written in the Rambam already 800 years ago, and before that in the Gemara, and before that written from the time of the Nevuah of Zechariah, which is more than 2,300 years. So all these years when they learned this halacha, so they saw it as Hilchos of Mashiach, and they hoped and prayed that the day will come when these things will come into actuality. But in actuality, they stressed, they felt in these days the negative part of them, the mourning and the pain on the Churban. הרי מדבר באריכוס על כך שהולכים מסגרים לגאולה, בפרט על מיילוס הדור השביעי, דור הגאולה, ועוד יסר, השנה מיוחדת שבו מלך המשיח נגלה וכולי. בשיחה in Shabbos Parshas Balak, Tavshin Aleph, the Rebbe speaks at length that we are going and coming closer to the Geula, and he spoke about the advantage of the Dor Hashvi, the Dor of the Geula, and even more in this special year that Mashiach will Mashiach Nigla, in this special year that Mashiach will be revealed. מודגש רק הטוב בין המצרים, כיוון שאינם על סף הגאולה שבו התקו מיד ממש. And on these foundations, the Rebbe dealt with and explained the above halacha about the days of Tainus, and he found a very actual meaning for us till he came to the conclusion that in this year, we only have the good part, the positive part of Bein HaMetzarim, because we are at the entrance of the Geula, which is going to come any moment. Iluloi hayinu makirim es azman banu oimdim, harei gam b'shvilenu halacha zu haysa b'geder hilchos HaMashiach, halacha lased bilvad, bli mashmas lahayva. So if we didn't recognize the time that we are standing in, so for us also this halacha would just be a halacha of Mashiach, which a halacha that's gonna happen in the future without any meaning for the present. But after the Rebbe teaches us about the time that we are standing at the entrance to the Geula, at the threshold of the Geula, So the halacha receives a meaning live and actual. כי הלימוד באופן של דעת, באופן של הסחברus, אלינו ולזמן שלנו, נוסם להלכה הישנה משמעות חדשה. Because the learning in a way of das, in a way that it's connecting to us and in our time, so it gives this old halacha a new meaning. As we will explain in detail in the future perek. And so it is with the whole inyan of Gula Mashiach. As I call inyan, I does of blame them makabel mashmois acheres lagamri mashmois chaya umachaya. So after we know that we are already standing at the entrance of Yemaisa Mashiach, so any inyan that we're going to learn about will receives a completely different meaning, live and a live meaning that gives life.
Right, it gives us excitement because that's what it's about. Okay, this next little bit.
Continue. שיש שני ענייני בלימוד, מלבד כל ההסבר הנ"ל, שהוא הסבר טבעי לכאורה, שטבע אדם הוא שההבנה שבמוח משפיע על רגשי סוב ומעשיו וכולי. And we could add that there's another idea in the learning besides the above explanation. The above explanation is the natural one?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's the nature of a person that when what he understands in his mind has an effect on his feelings and on his actions. But from the words of the Rebbe, in the continuation of that sikha, we understand that there's also an inyan of above nature. And in the Rebbe's words there, בתקופה האחרונה בשנה זו, תשנ"ס נפלויס הרנו, אחרי ריאס הנפלויס המאידויס, שזוהי השנה שהמלך משיח נגלה בי, רואים שיש שני קושי, אז קומתן שוור להכתר ההכרה וההרגשה שעומדים על סף ימי המשיח ממש, עד שיתחילו לחייס בענייני משיח וגאולה. So even though there was a shturim in the last time in this year, the year of Neflois Arenu, after we saw all the wonders that are witness to the fact that this is the year that Mashiach is revealed. So we see that it's a little bit, there are difficulties to, what was that word? To be influenced. The recognition.
To allow the recognition to be permeated within us.
Permeated, that's
like
the
it's
word.
It's not getting through.
Okay, the recognition and the feeling that we are at the threshold of the Geula, Mamish. And so we should be able to live within Yanan of Mashiach Geula. בעצם הזה, בכוח התורה, חוכמתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא שלמעלה מהעולם, לשנס טבע אדם. שגם כאשר מצד הרגש שלו נמצא עדיין חס ושלום מחוץ לעניין הגאולה, כיוון שלא יצא עדיין מהגולף פנימי, הרי על ידי לימוד התורה בעניין הגאולה, מסעל למימד ומצב של גאולה, מסחל לחייס בעניין הגאולה, מתוך ידיעה והכרה והרגשה, והנה זה בא. So what's the solution for this? The koyach of the Torah, which is the Chachma of Hashem, which is higher than this world. So the Torah has the koyach to change the teva of the person. So even though according to his feelings, he's still outside, far away from the idea of Geula, because he still didn't go out of his own galus. But through learning Torah in Yanima of Geula, so he will be raised to the level of Geula, and he will begin to live with the Geula with knowledge and recognition and feeling that Hine Zeba. So Rebbe said that when we're learning, if we don't feel it yet, so learn more.
Yeah, learn more. And in a way, it's like learn more and just like change your teva. You say, okay, I should learn, so I should feel it. So I said, you know what? You'll learn and you'll just keep learning it. And hopefully through the learning, it'll allow you to kind of get outside yourself and start to feel it. Just exactly. Okay. So Liba, welcome. Would you like to take over now? Pearson B'Surat HaGeula.
Yes. פרסום בשורת הגאולה. בכל הנ"ל דובר בעיקר על עבודת האדם עם עצמו, שהוא ידע ויכיר במשמעות הזמן בו נמצאים, ובהתאם לכך יהיו רגשותיו והנהגתו. ויש להוסיף ולהביא שיחות נוספות, בהן מדובר על עניין זה, כפי שהוא בעבודה עם הזולת, לפרסם את בשורת הגאולה לסביבה. So till now we spoke mainly about the work of a person with himself, that he should know and should recognize the meaning of the time where we are now. And according to that, it will be his feelings and his actions. But now he wants to bring more sikhs, where the Rebbe speaks about the work with other people. And this meaning to how you say?
Publicize
the Geula to the surroundings. בדברי הרבי בשיחת שבת פרשת ראה תינוסה, צריכים לפרסם בכל מקום ומקום שהקדוש ברוך הוא אומר לכל אחד ואחד בישראל על ידי עבדיו הנביאים, שהיום ממש רואים בעיני בשר ברכת הגאולה האמיתית והשלמה. So we have to publicize everywhere that the Eibashter says to every Yid, every single Yid, through his prophets, that today we mamish see with our flesh eyes the blessing of the Geula Hamitis Vashlema. ובשבוע שלאחר מכן, בשבת פרשת שופטים, חזר על כך שוב ובביאור יותר. The week afterwards, Shabbat Shoftim, he said again he spoke about it again, but with more explanation. צריכים לפרסם לכל אנשי הדור שזכינו שהקדוש ברוך הוא בחר ומינה בעל בחירה, שמצד עצמו הוא שלא בערך נעלה מאנשי הדור, שיהיה השופטייך ויועצייך ונביא הדור, שיורה הוראות וייתן עצות בנוגע לעבודת כל בני ישראל וכל האנשים לדור זה, בכל ענייני תורה ומצוות, ובנוגע להנהגת חיי היום הכללית, גם בכל דרכיך דאהו, וכל מעשיך היו לשם שמיים, עד הנבואה העיקרית, הנבואה של האתר לגאולה, ותכף ומיד ממש, הנה זה משיח בא. So the Rebbe says we have to publicize to all the people of our generation that we merited, and the Eibashter, he chose a person who is a bad b'chira, a person who can choose, with a b'chira chofshit, that from his own his level, he's much, much higher. It's not in a comparison to other people from the generation, and he will be the judge and the one who gives the aids, how you call it, your aids, counsel, advisor,
yeah.
And he is the prophet of our generation, and he is giving heroes and gives advices has to do with the avoid of all Bnei Yisrael and all the people in our generation, in all the matters of Torah and mitzvahs. Like we speak also about the behaving in the daily life in general, and also about the level of Bechol Darecha Da'eu and all Kol Ma'asecha Shem Shamayim, till he gives us the main prophet that the Geula is coming right now. The Moshiach is coming right now. וגם עניין זה יכול להיכנס תחת אותה כותרת של הנהגה מתאימה לזמן מיוחד זה שעומדים על סף הגאולה. כלומר, שעניין זה לא מושג בשיחות כעניין שמזרז וממהר את ביאת המשיח, להביא לימות המשיח, אלא כעניין שמתבקש מאליו מצד המצב המיוחד בו אנו נמצאים, לחיות עם הזמן שבהווה. שהואיל ועומדים אנו בזמן שבו נביא השם עומד ומבשר על הגאולה בקרוב, הרי ההנהגה מתאימה היא להמשיך ולבשר בשורה זו לכל מי שבשורה זו מיועדת אליו. So also this Indian can go to this under the same title of behaving in a way that it matches to the time, the special time where we are standing now on the threshold of the Geula, meaning that this is not like a Rebbe doesn't show it as a point that it's the point is to hasten the Geula, but as a different inyan that it's understood from itself, because we're standing in a special time of living now in the present with Mashiach. So that's why also we have to tell everybody, to publicize to everybody that the prophet of Hashem is standing, he's talking about the Geula, it's right now. So the matching avoid that we have to do is to tell everybody around us, whoever has to hear that, you should know that Mashiach is coming. סיכום, summary. הזמן בו אנו נמצאים, זמן התגלות משיח, הוא זמן מיוחד, המוגדר בשיחותיו של הרבי כסף הגאולה, זמן הדורש הנהגה מיוחדת, בהתאם לזמן המיוחד זה, ובלשון הרבי לחיות עם הזמן בימות המשיח. So the time where we're staying now is the time of revelation of Mashiach, is a special time, and the Rebbe defines it in his Sichos as the threshold of the Geula. It's a time that is demanding special actions according to the special time that we are being now. And like the Rebbe said, we should live with the time of Mashiach, of the days of Mashiach. הדרך לכך היא על ידי לימוד ענייני גאולה ומשיח, שמשפיעים על האדם בצורה פנימית וגורמים לו להרגיש ולחיות ברוח של משיח. וכהקדמה ללימוד צריכה להיות הכרה ברורה במשמעות האקטואלית של ימות המשיח, כך שלימוד התיאורטי אודות ענייני הגאולה הופך להיות עניין חי ומחיה. So the way to come to it is through learning עניין גאולה ומשיח. They should affect the person in an internal way and will make him to feel and live in the spirit of Mashiach. And before the learning, we have to be permitted with the clear recognition in the actuality of the meaning of all these times of the days of Mashiach and all this in Yon and Geula. That the learning won't be it shouldn't be a theoretical, it should be something that is actual and gives us chayos in our daily life. ומלבד העבודה עם עצמו בעניין זה, צריכה להיות גם עבודה עם הזולת, לפרסם בכל מקום שעומדים בכניסה לימות המשיח. So besides knowing it with ourselves, living it ourselves, we have also to do with the other people and publicize it everywhere that we're standing already in the threshold of the days of Mashiach.
Okay, so that concludes the actual parak Lamed Ches. So remember, we're talking about 4 themes of that year. Lahavli Mas Mashiach, where the Rebbe spoke about bringing the days of Mashiach, and now we did Lichyos in Mashiach. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on this. First, we're going to look at the Iyunim, and then we're going to look specifically at the idea of Tzaimais, and then we'll move on to the next thing with Koyach Einayim. But first, the Iyunim Nosafim on this chapter about living with Mashiach. Okay, so the idea of Saf Hagula. Liva, I'm very happy for you to continue. Go ahead.
Okay. בתוך הפרק הובאו דברי הרבי, שמגדיר את התקופה המיוחדת של התגלות משיח, בה אנו נמצאים כעת כסף הגאולה. וכפי שההגדרה זו חוזרת על עצמה כמה וכמה פעמים בשיחות הקיץ של תנוסה. Okay, so in this chapter, the Rebbe defines this special time of the revelation of Mashiach, that we are now in it, as the threshold of Geula. And we see that this definition comes again and again in the Sichos of the summer of Nun Aleph. והנה, כיוון שכל העניינים שבתורה הם בתכלית הדיוק, כולל גם משלים שבתורה, מובן שאפשר להתבונן בהגדרה סף הגאולה, ובמשמעותו של המושג סף, ולהבין כיצד מושג זה משקף את המצב בו אנו נמצאים כעת. So we know that all the inyan of the Torah, they're very, very exact, and even the examples that the Torah brings out, they're also very exact. So that's why we understand that we can look and understand more what does it mean, this definition of a threshold of Geula, and what does it mean, this union of threshold, and how it's משקף, what's the word?
How it reflects the
How it
situation we're in.
reflects the time where we are now. ויש לומר בדרך אפשר, הסף נמצא בין הבית לחצר או לרשות הרבים. מהותו של הבית היא מקום הראוי לדירת אדם, והחצר ורשות הרבים הינה מקום שאינו ראוי לדירת אדם. So maybe he can explain in such a way. The threshold is standing between the house and the yard or the street. The inyan of a house is a place that that it matches to a person to live there, but the street and the yard, they're a place that a person cannot live there, over there. ובבואנו להגדיר את הסף להיכן הוא משתייך, לבית או לרשות הרבים, מובן שבפועל הסף נמצא בשטחה של רשות הרבים ודומה לה, כיוון שהעומד בסף חשוף הוא לפגעי השמש והרוח, בדיוק כמו ברשות הרבים. So we come to define where the threshold belongs, to the apartment, to the house, or to the outside. So actually when we stand, the answer will be when we're standing at the threshold, so we are actually open to the public side, because then we're standing there, so we're feeling the sun and the wind, and we can be influenced from them, exactly like we're standing on the street. ולכן, אינו ראוי לדירת אדם, כמו שרשות הרבים אינה דירת אדם. So if we look at from this side, from this point, so it's not a place where a person can live. Exactly like the street is not a place for a person to live. אבל אידך גיסא, מצד מהותו ועניינו, הוא חלק מהבית פנימה. הוא מהווה כאין התפשטות של הבית אל תוך השטח של רשות הרבים. So on the other side, you see from the idea of the threshold, that it is a part of the house, from the inside of the house. And just like the continuation of the spacious of the house, still into the space of the public, of the street. ועל דרך שהוא במושגים של מקום, כך הוא במושגים של זמן. So if we are, till now we explain how it is with the space, so the same would be with the time also. שאם נמשיל את זמן הגלות למצב בו ישראל נמצאים ברשות הרבים, ואת זמן הגאולה השלמה למצב ישראל נמצאים בתוך הבית, הרי תקופה זו שלאחר התגלות מלך המשיח וכו', אף שבפועל הגלות עדיין ממשיכה, והננו חשופים לפגעי הגלות, אך במהותה ועניינה, תקופתנו שייכת לגאולה עצמה, ומהווה התחלה וכאין התפשטות שלה אל תוך זמן הגלות. So if we'll take this idea of the times of the time of the Golus, when we are in the, if Golus is like the streets, and we are now in the streets, and we'll take the Geula as an example for the house where a person can live, like Am Yisrael is in the house. So we understand that now when we're talking about this time, that after the revelation of Moshiach, even though actually the Golus is still continuing, and we are still vulnerable to the Golus and all the bad that comes with the Golus, but the essence and the inyan of our Tkufa is already connected to the Geula itself, and it's the beginning and the expansion of the Golus into the Geula into Golus. ולכן, אף שעדיין אין זו המשכתה ושלמותה של הגאולה, על כל פנים זוהי סף התחלת הגאולה. So that's why we're still not in the real complete Geula, but at least we can say it is the beginning and the threshold of the Geula. או באופן אחר, סף הבית אין לו כל חשיבות לעצמו. כל מהותו היא שהוא משמש הכנה לבית עצמו, ואת כל חשיבותו הוא מקבל מהבית אליו נכנסים דרכו. Or we can say it in a different way, that the threshold of the house, it doesn't have any importance for itself. The whole essence of the threshold that is a preparation to go into the house. And that's why it's all important, because through him through him you can access on the house and go into the house. ועל דרך זה, בנמשל, תקופתנו, אף שיש בה כמה וכמה ענייני גאולה עיקריים, החל מהנבואה שהנה זה בא, ובהתגלותו של מלך המשיח, מכל מקום, ברור ופשוט שאין לה כל חשיבות לעצמה. היינו, שאיננו רוצים להישאר בתקופה זו עוד רגע אחד נוסף. כל חשיבותה נובעת מזה שהיא משמשת ככניסה לגאולה עצמה. So the same like not in the real thing, that our time, it has a few miles and a few especially important things of Geula, beginning from the prophecy of the Rebbe that here we have the revelation of Moshiach, but we understand in a simple way, in a clear way, that this time doesn't have any importance to itself. And we don't want to stay another minute in this Golus. The whole importance of this time, this threshold of Geula, it's because it's being an entrance to the Geula itself.
We don't want to stand on the threshold forever, right? The threshold is just there to get us to the next stage. So we can get a taste, like when you're on the threshold, you get a taste of where you're going into, but it's mainly to get there, not to stay on the threshold.
ולהעיר גם מדברי חז"ל, נוגע לסף הבית, שדינו הוא כרשות הרבים. אך כאשר דלת הבית פתוחה, אזי דינו כרשות היחיד, פתח פתוח כלפנים. So interesting, also Chazal said there is another Indian of Halacha probably about the din of the threshold. And Chazal said his din is like the street, like the public space. But when the door is open, then its status is changing, and now it becomes like a private place, like a opening that it's open to the public, but it itself in the private side. ועל דרך זה בענייננו, שבהימצאנו בסף הגאולה, אזי אם הפתח פתוח, היינו שהיהודי מכיר ומרגיש שנמצאים על סף הגאולה, ורואה כיצד זמן זה ממשיך ישירות אל תוך הגאולה, אזי דין הסף כלפנים, היינו שהוא יכול להציב עצמו כבר כעת במצב ורגש של גאולה, כנ"ל בתוך הפרק. So if the Yid is feeling and recognizing that we're already in the times of the Geula, and he can see how this time is a continuation and going to the Geula, so then for him, the halacha is that the threshold is already, he can feel already and put himself in the situation of or in the feeling of Geula, like we spoke before.
Mm-hmm. And here, yeah, so we have to feel like the door is open, right? The door opening is like where we learn and we feel like we're there, and then it's like we're in the Geula time, like to live with the Geula. There's a very interesting footnote here. Go ahead, Liba, it's 16.
Yeah. ורגע שיחת ו' חשוון תשנ"ב, דברי הרבי לראשון לציון, הרב משה אליהו, מרדכי אליהו, שהגאולה עומדת כבר על סף הדלת, ומחכה לכל אחד ואחת מאיתנו שיפתח את הדלת ויסחוב את הגאולה לתוך החדר. So the Rebbe spoke to the Rav Eliyahu and he told him that the Geula is standing already on the threshold of the door and is waiting that each one of us, men and women, should open the door and will pull the Geula into the room. אמנם שם המשל הוא שהיהודי הוא הפנים והגאולה נמצאת מחוצה לו, והיהודי צריך לפתוח את הדלת ולהכניס את הגאולה אל תוכו, ובמשל שכאן מתואר באופן שונה שהגאולה היא הפנים והיהודי צריך להכניס את עצמו אל תוך הגאולה. So there is a small difference. Over here the Rebbe spoke that the Yid, he is the inside, he is the house, and the Geula is outside of him, and he has to bring it inside. He has to open the door and bring the Geula inside, into himself. But we spoke before that it's in a different way, that the Geula is the inside, and the Yid has to bring himself, he's outside, he has to bring himself into the Geula.
Right, so the Golus is the outside, yeah? So whichever way you look at it, the Saf is the idea. So depending on how you're looking at the idea of Prima as pulling the Geula in, as in, like the whole making the Dibra, like we pull the Geula into us, into feeling it, or the way we were talking about here, like Rosh Hashanah is the Golus, and Mifnim is the Geula, and therefore we need to enter into the Geula, right? We need to come away around that Saf. In either case, the point is the Saf Geula is this in-between place that we're in right now, that we know on one hand that it's imminent, so we need to be excited about it. We need to see everything that we're learning as very practical and imminent. At the same time, recognizing that we're also in a space that we don't want to stay in. You can't stand on a threshold forever. The threshold is meant to lead you into the home, and we need to go into Geula. We need to finally get out of this Gullus and finish it off. And that's why we're learning, and we're taking our time to discuss it and talk about it and make sure that we can feel it in Das, so we feel it in our hearts and our minds, so we can, in our hearts from our minds, that we can really be excited about it and be excited also to share it with our community and to help them understand that this is the real deal. May we be able to do that so that we can be finished with this all talks of Gullus and really enter the true Geula Amittis Vashlema.
Amen.
We will end it there for tonight, because that ends our Yudim, and we'll start the next chapter, Mitzvah Shem, next week.
Okay, Shkoya. Good night to you.
Yeah.